What's up, garden nerds? Today we're gonna nerd out over peach trees. I love peaches. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Come on, let's go. What's up, garden nerds? Today we're talking about peach trees. Here is one of my peach trees. This is the early grand peach tree. It's one of my bigger peach trees, but it's not my biggest peach tree. I'm gonna show you my biggest peach tree in a minute. Why do I love peaches? Why do I love to grow peaches in Arizona in the desert? Reason why? Peaches are so easy to grow. If you're a beginner, if you have a blank slate, if you're trying to figure out what can I grow that's gonna give me awesome fruit and I'm not gonna kill it, the peach tree is for you. Peach trees are extremely fast growing. You start with a peach tree. 3 years ago, this thing was maybe like this, little stick in the ground. Look at it now. That's like 10 feet tall and it's huge. Peach trees grow extremely fast. And in addition to growing extremely fast, they also give you fruit extremely quick. With a lot of fruit trees, especially like the tropical fruit trees and whatnot, it takes a while to get fruit. You may have to wait 3, 4, 5 years before you get a decent crop of fruit. Like with my mangoes, I love mangoes, but man, I've waited 4 or 5 years just to get a couple mangoes on one tree. With peach trees, by the second year, you're gonna get tons of peaches. On my biggest peach tree one year, I think the peach tree was only 3 years old and I got about 500 peaches. It was way too many peaches. I should have thinned them out and not gotten so many. But the point is, in just a few short years, you're gonna have a huge harvest. So if you plant 3, 4, 5 peach trees on your property, wait for 3 years and you're gonna have more than you know what to do with. So peach trees will give you peaches very, very quickly, and they taste so good, so much better than the store-bought. Now, when I'm talking about how fast they grow and how much fruit they give you, there is one piece of advice that I will give you. And I already briefly touched on one of those things, and that is the fruit. Well, first of all, let's start with how big they get. You need to trim and prune your peach trees every winter. If you don't, they're gonna get huge, they're gonna get lanky. When the peach is set, the branches are not gonna be strong enough to hold up those peaches. They're gonna bend over, they're gonna break, they're gonna snap, it's gonna be a huge mess. So make sure you're pruning your trees properly. This winter, I'll do some videos on pruning to make sure that you're doing it correctly. But don't be scared, you can hack these guys back and they're gonna grow back big time once it heats up and once it's springtime. And then when it comes to the fruit, they're gonna try and set tons and tons, hundreds of pieces of fruit, which is awesome. You get excited, you say, hey, I'm gonna have so many peaches this spring and this summer, and you just let them all grow. But here's what happens, is once it nears the time of harvest, you're gonna notice that you have tons and tons of peaches and they're all small. They're not as big as they could have been. And also, like I mentioned, it's gonna be breaking the branches. So once the fruit starts to set and you see the little tiny pieces of fruit, I know it's gonna break your heart, you don't want to do it, but you need to go out and you need to pick all the fruit off. Not all the fruit, but you're gonna wanna pick a lot of it off. I would say you only want a peach every 6 inches or so. If they're closer than that, it's not gonna end well. Branches will be broken, peaches will not be as big. When it comes time to harvest, you will not be happy. It's hard to do, to kill all those baby peaches, but you gotta do it. Thin your peaches, take them off. Another reason why I love the peach tree is because I live in the desert and I'm cheap and I hate having a huge water bill. Peaches don't require a lot of water. In fact, even in the middle of the summer when I'm watering a lot of my other things, every other day, every 3 days, multiple times a week, my peach trees, I can get away with watering once a week. I do a very deep water with my hose or with my bubblers, and once a week, I just let it slowly come out and very, very deep. Again, like I've talked about in all my videos, I do a slow water so that the water goes down deep, so that the roots go down deep. But that is all my peaches need. And if you can see, I'm gonna get a shot of all my different peach trees. They're all looking great. This week has been so hot. I think we've had like 10 plus days of 110 degrees or over. For the past 7 days, the low hasn't even gotten below 90, and my peach trees are looking awesome. In fact, they're putting out new growth. They're doing just great. So you can get away with just once a week, as long as you're watering correctly, watering. This is my Florida Prince peach. one of my older peaches. This thing is probably 15 feet tall, maybe pushing close to 20 feet tall. This is the peach tree that gave me about 500 peaches last year. I cut it down about halfway, about right there to the top of, you can see the top of the brick fence during the winter. And since then, we're in June, it's doubled in size. It is huge. The Florida Prince tree will give you tons of peaches. They're never huge like other peaches, but it will give you tons of peaches. And if you thin properly, you'll get decent sized peaches, but still not as big as other varieties will give you. This is my dwarf bonanza peach tree. It's a dwarf, as you can tell, it stays small. It's probably only like 4 feet tall, and it won't get much bigger, maybe 2 feet taller. But this one actually gives decent size. For being a dwarf, it gives good size, baseball size, probably bigger, peaches. Really good, really juicy. One of my favorite peaches, if you don't have a lot of room, dwarf bonanza is the tree to plant. This back here in my unkept side yard that has not been picked up yet, but it will soon. This is a tropic snow peach. This one is only 1.5 years, and because it's kind of back here in the corner where I throw everything and I don't pay a lot of attention to it, let me give you a perfect example of not trimming the tree properly and not thinning the tree properly. See a broken branch right here because there were too many peaches. And then do you see all these peaches here? I let way too many set on such a young tree. The branches have bent, they're laying on the ground, and these peaches are extremely small. They're really good, it's a white peach, but they're almost too small to even be juicy and taste good. And that's because I just left way too many on. So don't be like me, do not neglect your tree and let this happen. It's not good. But now that I'm paying attention to it, I'm gonna pick these peaches off, I'm gonna trim it up and let it start to get a better shape. And next year at this time, this thing will be probably 6-7 feet tall. And then another reason why I love growing peaches in the desert is because they are one of the very few trees, we've talked about some others like the moringa and the mulberry, peach trees can take full Arizona sun. A lot of people get peach trees and they want to put shade over them because they think they have to protect them from the sun like their other trees, but you don't have to. You can throw them in the full sun, and as long as you've mulched correctly, as long as you've planted them correctly, as long as you're watering correctly, they're going to take the full Arizona sun just fine. So these are the trees that you can use to build your microclimate, trees that can shade other trees that are more sensitive to the sun. So when can you plant a peach tree? That's another great thing about peaches. You can plant them almost year-round. If you're a beginner, I probably wouldn't recommend planting your trees now because it's hot right now. You can't tell, I'm probably sweating a little bit. When it's 110 plus degrees for so many days in the middle of summer, it might be a little hard. But you can plant them now. You can plant them pretty much all year long. The ideal time would be either winter time, where you can buy them as a bare root tree. Basically what that means is usually you go to the store and you buy a tree and it's in a pot with soil. Well, a bare root tree, it's not in a pot, it has no soil, it's basically all the roots. And then the next time, best time would be in spring, where you can still plant them as a bare root if it's still cool enough, or they'll come in a pot and you can plant them. Those are probably the two best times, but you can plant them year round and you'll probably be just fine. And how do you plant peach trees properly? Pretty much like you plant all trees properly. When you plant it, you want to make sure that the root flare is exposed. That's how you can tell that you haven't planted it too deep. And if you're not sure if you're planting it too deep or not deep enough, always err on the side of not planting your tree deep enough. Trees will die from being planted too deeply in the ground. Most of the time, trees will not die from being planted too high. So make sure you're not planting the tree too deep. You want to amend the soil. You want to put some organic stuff, worm castings, things to that nature, in the hole when you're planting it. But you do want to keep the native soil in there as well. And then, like all trees in the hot desert climate, you want to mulch. Mulch is awesome. Mulch helps you and allows you to get away with only watering once a week. It holds in that moisture, it keeps it cool, and it gives your peach tree not so much stress in the hot desert sun. One thing that I'll point out that's very important is make sure you're buying your trees, your peach trees, from the right place. There's this thing called chill hours, and to break that down and to explain it very simply, basically that's the amount of hours of cold under a certain degree that a place gets, a location gets each year. You want to look on the tag when you're buying a peach tree. I would recommend if it's anywhere over 250 chill hours are needed for the tree to produce fruit, don't get it. You want to get something that requires less than 250 chill hours to produce fruit. If you get something bigger than that, you're probably not going to get good fruit. And if you go to these big box stores that bring in trees that aren't proper for our climate, like Lowe's or Home Depot, you might get a peach tree that's not going to give you peaches. It will look good, but it's not going to give you peaches. So make sure that you buy a peach tree that requires the correct amount of chill hours for your location. All right, guys, go and get yourself a peach tree. You will not be disappointed. It will be easy to grow and you will get beautiful, delicious, juicy, homegrown peaches. If you have only had a peach from the store, you have never had a real peach. Believe me, it's a world of difference, and it's so cool to go and pick your own peach off of your own peach tree and eat it. And you'll have more than you'll know what to do with come harvest time and give 2 or 3 years or so. So go get yourself a peach tree. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Guys, if you like this video, please, please, please make sure to like it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.